This is Jackie, and today I'm going to be presenting my 2022 Capstone project, which is my discovery for the ears. So my goal for this project was to expand my music taste. Before starting this, I did listen to music, but I noticed that a lot of my stuff, it sounded quite similar. It was, I feel like didn't really branch out in terms of the types of genres and the types of artists I was listening to. So I wanted to discover some fresh tunes. So before, these were my favorite songs. Acting by Sweet Trip, Me and Your Mama by Childish Gambino, Show Me How by Men I Trust, Michelle by The Beatles, and IFHY by Tyler the Creator. So based on these, I would say that my top genres are psychedelic pop, alternative hip hop, neo-psychedelic rock, that's a bit of a mouthful, and cool jazz. Also, based on the songs that I like, these are kind of some things that I've noticed I really like in a piece, and then I really do not like in a piece. So I really like the bass. I think bass lines basses in general are super important for music. I mean, they're the backbone of a song. So if I'll notice that a song has a cool bass line with stuff going on, I'll notice that, and I'll really like it. Next, I really quite like the synthesizer. I think it has a cool psychedelic feel. So that's a cool instrument. So it's not an instrument, but that's a cool part of a song. I generally like slower songs. I feel like I can groove to them a bit more. And then just an additional one. This is not necessary, but if I notice that a song has meaningful lyrics or lyrics that follow a story, or just I can understand them and relate to them, that'll bump a song up in my head. Now, something I don't like, I'm not a huge fan of the acoustic guitar. I'm not sure why, it's not exactly my thing. And then I find obnoxious singing to be rather obnoxious when the artist is kind of like trying too hard, or it sounds weird and unnatural. I don't roll with that. So the 3-step plan. The first thing that I decided to do was to find people because I needed music to listen to. So I deducted that the best way to go about this would be to use social media. So I put out an Instagram story onto my account asking people for their favorite album. So I chose to put this online because I feel like I got a wider sample size by putting it onto my social media for my followers to look at, and there's no room for bias, because if I were to just go up to people and ask, I most likely would be asking people I'm comfortable with, right? To, ask them what their favorite piece is or their favorite album is. So this way, people could kind of come up to me on their own accord, people that maybe I didn't know, and put some music in. So these were responses. I got a total of 17 responses, and I only used 16 of them. It was super nice to see everyone kind of contribute. I was really happy. I didn't expect this many people to respond. So I remember seeing this, and I was super excited to get started listening. All right, so for the second step, I need to listen. So my materials were headphones. I decided to use AirPods because I find wireless headphones are they're so nice. They're so convenient. They're handy, and yeah. I needed a phone. I used my cell phone and a streaming service. I use Spotify. Doesn't really matter, but Spotify has a good app design, and it's easy to use. I also needed to find a location to do this. So this was very important for me because I'm a very environmentally influenced person, if that makes sense. So I want to make sure that what I was doing while listening was as neutral as possible. So I chose places like cafes or at the park, on the bus, or when I was going for a walk to listen to my albums. This way I could have a control, which was like a nice calming environment, and the only thing that would be changing was the album I was listening to. And then after, I took a few notes on the album and would rate it. So things I would include would be parts of the album that I enjoyed, parts of the album I didn't exactly enjoy, my favorite songs. I also wrote a few words that I associate with the album, and then also a rating out of 10. So these are the albums and how I rated them. I wrote more notes, but I don't think I'll have time to kind of talk in depth about all of them. So if you're interested and you want to hear about a specific album, please just let me know. So I gave Twilight by Boa a 5.5. Cub Sport by Nirvana. Oh, pardon me. It's Nirvana by Cub Sport, a 5 out of 10. Ziggy Stardust by David Bowie, an 8.5 out of 10. Mount Joy by Mount Joy, a 6 out of 10. By the Way by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, a 4 out of 10. The Mess Education of Lauryn Hill, a 7. Wide Awake by Parquet Courts, a 7. Coastal Grooves by Blood Orange, a 7.5. DSU, a 5. And Donny Hathaway, an 8.5. Moving on, I gave Sour a 5. Planet Her a 5. Freudian, an 8 out of 10. Too Young to Be Sad, a 3.5. Man on the Moon, The End of the Way, a 6.5. And Graduation, an 8. So I'm just going to talk about the albums that really stood out to me. These were my top 4 rated albums. First of all, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust by David Bowie. So I would say that every single song on the album was extremely well crafted. It was very well mixed. There were a lot of good instrumentals, things that made sense. It was just super well constructed. And then I just noticed that electric guitar was really well done. I hope that sounded nice. And then also David Bowie has so much energy in his voice. That was super, super fun to hear. My top songs were 5 Years and Lady Stardust. And then some words that I'd use to describe this record are hopeful, energetic, and passionate. Moving on, we have Donny Hathaway by Donny Hathaway. So Donny Hathaway has extremely incredible control over his voice. He's a super talented man, and he's got a huge range. He can go super high, and he can also go very low. I also noticed that in every song, there was quite a bit of build-up. It was quite the climactic song. Quite a climactic album, but individually, every song was also, it followed this climax, which I thought was quite cool. I like the first album a little bit, the first half of the album a little better. It was a little slower and a little more calming, but it was still very, very good record. My top songs were Giving Up, A Song for You, and Take a Love Song. And some words I'd use to describe this are anticipatory and soulful. And this received an 8.5. Next up, we have Graduation by Kanye West. The opening track to Graduation was very good. It's called Good Morning, and it was super fitting. I felt totally, it was a perfect song to introduce me into the album, and I really liked it. This is also a very hype album. Quite electronic as well. But also, as hype as it is, it wasn't super intense. I know that sometimes rap albums can be aggressive sometimes, but this was not. It had a good mix of instrumental, had a good mix of vocals, and then alongside the rap. My top songs are Stronger, Flashing Lights, and I Wonder. And then some words I'd use to describe this are high definition and crisp. And finally, we have Freudian by Daniel Caesar. So just some general notes. I thought that the background vocals in every piece were very good. They were super well placed, and they added quite a lot to each song. And also there was a strong snare beat in a lot of the pieces, so I thought that was cool. Moving on, my top songs from this album were Get You, Loose, and Transform. And the one word I'd use to describe this album is smooth. So to conclude, my goal, as you know, was to expand my music taste, and I would say that was a roaring success. I found a lot of new stuff that I really enjoyed, and yeah, it was a good time. There were quite a few songs I added to my playlist, which I thought was really cool. I think I counted a total of 10 new songs, which is quite a bit. I can be picky with my music, so it was pretty surprising that I was able to find that many that many tracks to add to my own personal playlists. Some old prejudices were dissolved. If you remember earlier, I mentioned that I'm not a huge fan of the acoustic guitar. But one album in particular, Mount Joy by Mount Joy, it had a song called Julia, and that was quite acoustic guitar heavy, and I really liked it. Also, a new genre was found. I never really listened to R&B, but through listening to Freudian by Daniel Caesar, I think I'm gonna start, trying some R&B music out. So yeah, all in all, this was a super good experience. I'm so happy I decided to do this. Music is super important in my life, and I'm really excited to have found all these new albums, new artists, and new genres. And I have a feeling that I'll be re-listening to some of these albums that I rated, maybe giving them a second chance. And yeah, and I'll keep on listening to music because music is awesome. All right, thank you so much for paying attention and watching my presentation. I hope you got something from it. I hope maybe you are intrigued by the music and give some of the albums a listen. Yeah, and I just hope you enjoyed. And I also am sorry that this is so late. Thank you for watching.